The words my father spoke to me will forever echo in my mind. When I announced my engagement, he took me aside and said, "Anne, are you sure about marrying this man, James? I know you're in love with him, but I don't think he's a good match for you." "Why are you saying this, Dad?" I asked. "He loves me and respects me. I don't care if he's not as well off as us." "I know that, Anne," he replied. "You know I built my riches from nothing. I would never disrespect someone who does not belong to our economic class. But James is very sketchy, and his mother is no different." "What do you mean, Dad? I don't understand," I said. "Call it a father's instinct," he replied. "This man doesn't love you. Yes, he showers you affectionately but always talks about how rich you are. I heard him boasting to his friends that he bagged the rich brat." Emily just laughed and agreed with him. "You must be mistaken, Dad. James would never say those things about me. Emily also loves me. I'm sure she would scold James if he tried to joke like that." Sometimes, I wish I had listened to my father. I didn't know what he was talking about. I was a foolish girl in love. My mother had passed away 2 years before I got married, and my dad was sick and didn't have long to live. I was desperate to hold on to something that would give me the will to live. James and Emily became those people. My dad was a rich man who made a series of suitable investments that left him financially well off. I worked hard at my job and earned a moderate salary. All in all, we were comfortable in life. My husband James and his mom Judy weren't that well off. Yes, James earned more than me, but he came from a humble background. His field wasn't lucrative enough to make him a millionaire, and James resented it. He and Emily liked sophisticated and expensive things, often complaining about insufficient money. I was always glad to help them with the little allowance my dad gave me. I even let James and Emily move into my house after our marriage. However, neither James nor Emily were happy with my house. They said, "It's such a shame that you live in a small house. Your dad lives in a mansion. How come you bought such a small townhouse?" "I don't earn a lot," I defended. "Dad lives in a mansion because he has lots of money. I'm a simple office employee earning a moderate salary. This house was also difficult for me to buy. Dad helped me with the down payment." "Well, if he helped you, he should have gotten you a better place," Emily said. "I'm sure your mom left him something to give you when you became older." "I'm not entitled to anything, Emily," I replied. "Whatever my mom left behind is my dad's now. She died suddenly, so there was no will. I don't mind if I don't get anything. I'm happy with how things are." "That's a ridiculous thing to say, Anne," Emily retorted. "I sure would have loved to inherit a lot of money. You know what? Your dad should trade houses with us. He lives alone, so he doesn't need the space anyway, right, Mom?" "Yeah, James is right. So you can ask," added Judy. "Not. That house is my dad's, and he deserves to live comfortably as long as he is alive." "Well, he won't be alive for long now that he's sick. We can wait and compromise for a few years and see what happens. Ultimately, everything will be yours after your dad dies. You will have plenty of money to buy a big house and more." How Emily and James were already planning to spend my inheritance was deeply disturbing. It also didn't help that they regularly asked me to. His field wasn't lucrative enough to make him a millionaire, and James resented it. He and Emily liked sophisticated and expensive things, often complaining about insufficient money. I was always glad to help them with the little allowance my dad gave me. I even let James and Emily move into my house after our marriage. However, neither James nor Emily were happy with my house. They said, "It's such a shame that you live in a small house. Your dad lives in a mansion. How come you bought such a small townhouse?" "I don't earn a lot," I defended. "Dad lives in a mansion because he has lots of money. I'm a simple office employee earning a moderate salary. This house was also difficult for me to buy. Dad helped me with the down payment." "Well, if he helped you, he should have gotten you a better place," Emily said. "I'm sure your mom left him something to give you when you became older." "I'm not entitled to anything, Emily," I replied. "Whatever my mom left behind is my dad's now. She died suddenly, so there was no will. I don't mind if I don't get anything. I'm happy with how things are." "That's a ridiculous thing to say, Anne," Emily retorted. "I sure would have loved to inherit a lot of money. You know what? Your dad should trade houses with us. He lives alone, so he doesn't need the space anyway, right, Mom? Yeah, James is right. So you can ask, added Judy. Not. That house is my dad's, and he deserves to live comfortably as long as he is alive. Well, he won't be alive for long now that he's sick. We can wait and compromise for a few years and see what happens. Ultimately, everything will be yours after your dad dies. You will have plenty of money to buy a big house and more. It was deeply disturbing to see how Emily and James were already planning to spend my inheritance. It also didn't help that they regularly asked me to ask my dad for more money. It's not like we were hurting for cash. James and Emily wanted the millionaire life, even if they weren't one. Honestly, I was getting tired of their behavior. However, the real drama happened after my father passed away. My dad's cancer took him away from me pretty soon. I was devastated but got little support from James or Emily. They were only concerned about the date of the will reading and didn't even help with the funeral. They refused to attend the funeral because my dad was no one to them. I was heartbroken and furious at that point. My dad's words kept coming back to me. I was getting suspicious of them and started to doubt their intentions. I was afraid that they were really after my inheritance money. They were not allowed to be at the reading of the will. James and Emily said, "Why are we not allowed to read the will? This is ridiculous." Raymond was my father-in-law. "Yes, this is ridiculous," Emily added. "We are family and should be present for this event. We have the right to know what Raymond left in the will. At least my son should be allowed to be there. Your son is not in the will, Emily, so he cannot read the will. Why are you two so obsessed with inheritance? You didn't even come to the funeral." It was funny how my dad suddenly became part of the family when it came to getting an inheritance. I was annoyed at Emily and James. Worse, they started to hound me as soon as I got back from reading the will. They were not allowed to see the will. I had a hard time dealing with the grief of losing my father, but I got no words of support or sympathy from them. They wanted to know about my inheritance. Emily asked me, "So, we have been wondering about something for a while now. How much inheritance did you receive from your parents? You must have got a lot of money. How much money did you get?" My parents, unfortunately, didn't leave me any money as an inheritance. So, I received zero. What? You didn't get any money? But your parents were rich. They should have left you something. I don't believe that you didn't get any money. I'm sure you're lying to us. Oh, there is no way your parents didn't leave you a single penny. No, James, there was no money in my inheritance. The will didn't even mention me getting any money. You can check my bank balance in a few days and find out. But what about their riches? Who will get those? You are their only child. I don't know about that, Emily. The lawyer just told me that I didn't get any money. It's fine by me, it was my parents' money, and it's up to them to whom they would give it. That is ridiculous. You need to fight for the money. It should be yours. There is no money, James. They didn't have much money in the end. Whatever was left was given to charity. They had been planning this for a while now. Emily and James looked very pissed at what I said. I had no idea why they were being so weird about my inheritance. I almost told them the full details, but something stopped me. I had this creeping doubt that my husband and mother-in-law were up to something. I waited for them to digest the news. When Emily and James kept pressuring me for more information, I put my foot down. I told them firmly that I didn't get any money and even offered to show them my account in a few days. A month passed, and nothing showed up. In the meantime, James grew restless and stopped being affectionate with me. He always checked my account and hounded me for information on my inheritance. I was starting to see where this was going. Finally, one day, I decided to end it. I showed them my bank statements and said, "See? I told you that I didn't receive anything. I'm not hiding any secret inheritance money from you. Do you believe me now?" "Wow, our years of hard work just went down the drain," James muttered, his voice heavy with frustration. So his parents weren't rich, and she didn't even get $1,100 in the will? This is ridiculous. I can't believe this. "I can't believe this either, Mom," I replied, my disbelief matching his. "I stayed in this marriage for nothing. I married Anne for nothing. It was all a waste of time." "What the hell does that mean, James?" Why are you talking like this? His mother, Emily, demanded, her eyes narrowing in suspicion. Why do you think he's saying these things? I asked, my voice trembling. So, who would marry you without thinking about the money? My son married you so that we could bank on your inheritance. Now I see that you didn't even get a penny. I can't believe I wasted 5 years on a useless girl like her. I could have done so much better, James spat out, his words cutting deep. I was stunned, unable to believe they were speaking this way about me. The truth hit me like many bricks. James married me for money. My parents were right about him and his mom. They were gold diggers. I was so done with my husband and mother-in-law. I felt myself breaking inside, but what they said next turned me to stone. Emily looked at James solemnly and said, "What is done, James. But now it's time for you to divorce her. There's no reason for you to stay with her anymore. You'll have time to find a new rich wife. This time, we will ensure she has some money to her name." Are you freaking kidding me, Emily? Are you asking James to divorce me over money? James, are you going to listen to her? Of course, I would listen to her, Anne. I married you so my mom and I could have a comfortable life. We grew up poor, and I didn't even go to college. I had no way of earning a lot of money. So you pretended to love me and then tricked me into marrying you. You thought my parents would give me lots of money I would readily share with you? I asked, my voice breaking with hurt and anger. Yes, that's what I thought. It was the only way I could give my mom the life she wanted. But now I see that my efforts were in vain. Mom's right. I need to divorce you and keep looking, James admitted, his tone disturbingly calm. I was stunned by James's words, spoken so casually that I began questioning my sanity. Emily and James continued to express their frustration about our marriage and me, but I couldn't hear a word after a while. I was too busy accepting what they had just thrown at me. Their total lack of empathy and James's sudden shift in behavior were depressing and infuriating. After a point, I was so mad that I wanted to scream and throw things. However, I didn't do any of that. I calmly said, "Okay then, James. If a divorce is what you want, you will get it. I was never the one to say no to your demands. I might as well give in to your demand now as a last favor so you will agree to a mutual divorce. It'll save us both a lot of money. By the looks of it, you don't have much to go on anyway. Don't think of this as an opportunity to get alimony. We will fight you tooth and nail before you give up that dream. You better preserve your lawyer fees and agree to a mutual divorce. It'll be best for you." You're right, I don't have much money right now. So, I decided something. I will agree to a mutual divorce, but you have to sign a clause saying that we won't share any of our assets, James replied. That's not a problem at all. You don't have much, and neither do I at the moment. If you can forego alimony, I'll agree to sign a divorce and won't claim anything from you, I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. James and I discussed the divorce details and ensured we were on the same page. I could see that Emily and James were both happy about me not making a fuss over the divorce. They didn't expect me to be so calm about it. Ever since that day, I had been crying on my way to and from work. I used to sit in the parking lot of my office and cry for an hour before and after work. James never noticed my puffy eyes or even asked why I was leaving early for work. Coming home late, Emily didn't even bother to glance at me. After she discovered I was penniless, her behavior, along with everyone else's, only fueled my determination to escape the marriage as quickly as possible. Eventually, I had James and Emily move out of my house into a rented place nearby. They settled in soon enough, and while we awaited the finalization of our divorce, James kept his word and didn't claim a share of my house. I, too, refrained from asking for alimony. To him, it seemed like a fair deal. Little did I know how far things would spiral. When our divorce was finalized, I returned my wedding and engagement rings to his new rented place. I just wanted to return these to you, I said, handing him the rings. The marriage only brought bad times into my life, and I don't want any reminders. Are you sure you want to return them? You might need the money after all, Emily chimed in, her tone dripping with sarcasm. It's so funny you don't. You must have laughed at our poverty before. Look where you are now. My son is being generous by accepting these rings. You might need to sell them when your stupid job doesn't pay enough. We don't want these cheap rings anyway, she continued. Why would I need to sell them for money? Emily, you don't have to be embarrassed, I replied calmly. We all know how your parents left you with nothing. I guess they lost everything due to poor financial decisions, leaving their daughter destitute. At that point, I burst out laughing. Emily looked confused, and so did James. I could tell James was somewhat annoyed by his mother's behavior and surprised at my laughter. Why the hell are you laughing? Did I say something funny? Emily snapped. It's hilarious how you think I'm destitute, Emily, I said between chuckles. And it's even funnier that you think my parents lost all their fortune. Well, of course, you're destitute. Your parents didn't even leave you a penny. They surely messed up, she retorted. And ruined your life by not leaving you an inheritance, she sneered. I never said I didn't get an inheritance, Emily. I told you I didn't get any money. My parents did leave me plenty. What the hell does that mean? James cut in, bewildered. You have an inheritance? I'm so confused. My parents saw through you and Emily, recognizing the little gold diggers you two are. So, they included a secret clause in their will. It stated that I would receive no monetary inheritance. Instead, I was given this entire neighborhood as my inheritance. What? Do you own this neighborhood now? How is that possible? We would have known about your inheritance if this was true. We even signed the lease with an estate manager who didn't tell us the owner's name. My parents wanted me to wait a year before receiving my inheritance to test you and see if you were with me for money or love. Well, of course, you failed the test. And now, you won't get anything from me. My parents appointed the estate manager to take care of the property before I inherited it. They were smart people, you know. That is impossible. I don't believe a word you're saying. You're just embarrassed because you don't have money anymore, Emily snapped. Oh really, James? Is that what you and your mother have concluded from this? Why don't you call your landlord and find out from him? Don't worry, we will. Then everyone will see what a big liar you are, Emily shot back. Emily and James quickly called their landlord, who was, in fact, the estate manager. After a brief conversation, their faces turned pale with shock and panic. Cutting the call, they looked at me, stunned. You lied to us. You tricked us into thinking you had nothing but own the entire housing society now. How dare you deceive us? So you wanted all your riches to yourself, huh? You tricked James into divorcing you and made him sign papers that he wouldn't claim anything from you, Emily accused. I laughed at their audacity to turn this on me. It was finally dawning on them that they had messed up royally, and now it was time for some sweet karma. It's funny you accuse me of trickery, James. You deceived me into marrying you by professing love, and Emily, you helped your son in this scheme. You were the one who urged him to divorce me. If anyone here is a scammer, it's the two of you. As for my inheritance, you asked how much money I got, and I answered truthfully. This was all a misunderstanding. So what happened is in the past, James pleaded. Why don't we just try again in a new light? We spent 4 years together. It would be a shame to throw it all away. So now you want me back in your life? It's funny how you were desperate to start fresh with a new girl. I hear you're already seeing someone rich. Don't worry, I'll tell her what a snake you are. James and Emily started begging me not to ruin his new relationship. Since you're not ready to give me another chance, don't mess up my future, James implored. Freak off, I replied. I also informed them that I would kick them out once the property was transferred to my name. They panicked and begged even more. Emily and James showed up at my house in the following weeks, pleading for forgiveness. James and Emily had already been evicted, making it unlikely anyone would rent to them. They were only staying on my property because I asked the estate manager to allow it. I called James's new victim and told her everything. Horrified by what James and Emily had done, she broke up with him instantly and even showed me the texts. After this fiasco, James and Emily beat down my door, calling me names. I promptly called the police and had them removed from my property. Once I got my inheritance in my name, I kicked them out very swiftly. They didn't expect me to go through with the threat. They showed up on my property again, and the police were called. The cops warned them, and I filed for a restraining order. The entire town soon knew about what had happened. They were essentially disowned by friends and had to leave the city to start anew. Meanwhile, I'm enjoying my new wealth and finally free from gold-digging leeches. Your story is a powerful tale of betrayal, resilience, and justice. Here are some personal thoughts and reflections on it. 1. Power of parental wisdom ***. The protagonist's father had a strong instinct about James's true nature. His warning about James's and Emily's intentions was based on genuine concern and a father's intuition. It's a reminder that sometimes, those who care for us can see things we might overlook when we are blinded by love. 2. Materialism versus genuine love ***. The stark contrast between Anne's genuine love and James's and Emily's materialistic motives. While Anne values respect and affection, James and Emily are fixated on wealth and status. This discrepancy ultimately leads to their downfall. 3. Strength and independence ***. Anne's journey showcases her inner strength. Despite the emotional turmoil and betrayal, she remains steadfast and independent. Her decision to handle the divorce calmly and her strategic move to reveal the truth about her inheritance at the right moment highlight her resilience and intelligence. 4. Justice and karma ***. The story's conclusion provides a satisfying sense of justice. James and Emily's true colors are exposed, and they face the consequences of their greed and deceit. It's a powerful message about karma and the importance of integrity. 5. Emotional impact ***. The narrative effectively captures the emotional roller coaster Anne experiences, from love and betrayal to empowerment and vindication. Her character development is compelling, making readers root for her as she navigates the complexities of her relationships and personal growth. Overall, the story poignantly reminds us of the value of genuine relationships over worldly pursuits, the importance of trusting one's instincts, and the importance of maintaining personal integrity. It's a powerful narrative about overcoming adversity and finding strength in the face of betrayal.